what led you to pivot from being a practicing attorney to the role you're in now?
That's a great question. Oh, I started out as an employment attorney, was in private practice, then pivoted into city government work just because I was flowing with what the market was saying where my skills can go. I was struggling for a little bit when I first got to New York to actually find a legal job. But when I found my footing, not only in private practice, but then in internal investigations for city agencies, I got to a stage where the development that I was looking for wasn't coming. And I was constantly trying to find a way to get back into private practice because I felt like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And to be honest, 2015 was my epiphany year where I was like, you know what? I'm really trying to do this. I'm not getting hits. What can I do that is related to this where my skills could still be applied in a way that was beneficial? And I went through coaching and found that bridge for me was employee relations, a subset of human resources. And so I really started to look for jobs in that space. And I'll be honest with you, Chase, it was tough for me. I felt like a failure. I felt like I was giving up on what I had strived so hard for because I was so dead set on like, I need to do this thing, but had aspirations of becoming somebody's general counsel. So it was a tough year, but I eventually made the pivot into HR and it was great. It was a strategic move in that I could still do some of the work I was doing in the employee relations space, but now I got a chance to support clients and really get closer to the business. And that's where like healthcare came in. And so as I was doing that, all right, now the trajectory was always driving high. I could see myself doing the CHRO route, chief people officer route. And I kept pushing for that, just putting myself in the right positions to eventually land in that space. And then things really changed in that I started to have a better appreciation for why am I really striving for this? To be honest, it was for the money and prestige, for some external validation that I may have been seeking, right? And, the show is born out of the pandemic. And obviously I didn't leave my role during that time, but I did pick up a lot of lessons during the pandemic. And I worked on something that saved lives during that initial surge of COVID. And that was like a light bulb. I was like, oh, wow. What you're doing right now, that's really cool. I felt like I was in healthcare. Like I'll never be patient bedside or anything like that. But it was like, oh, this is something. How can I now have an impact in this way? It's not going to be saving lives. That's a little dramatic, Brian, but that you can impact lives positively. Then had a fork in the road moment where I could continue going down the HR route or go this chief of staff route, supporting our CEO, and decided to do that. And it was in that position that the education work, the light bulbs really started to go off, because now it was, you could lead an initiative that has this impact of changing the trajectory of young people's lives. And I was like, well, there you go. Why wouldn't I want to do that? And every year there's like a new crop that you get to really expose to what's happening and the opportunities that exist within healthcare. And so I'm very excited to be leading a lot of initiatives that touch on these similar themes, because I really figured that out 4 or 5 years ago, that this is what you need to be chasing, Brian. The titles, who cares about the money? It'll come. Thankfully, I'm able to support myself, but what am I really contributing to society? And once I started figuring that out, everything that I do now is so crystal clear. I talk about positively impacting the human experience, and I'm not just BSing people. It's what I do day to day, and it's what I do with this show. And so everything I'm doing now is under that umbrella. And I got to tell you, it is a freeing feeling to be a part of.